Hi, my name is Marty Machowski, and I'm going to be reading to you today from my book, The Gospel Story Bible. We're going to read story 110, Jesus Washes the Disciples' Feet. Now we're going to read this here to be celebrated on Maundy Thursday. The word Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, which means command, and that comes from Jesus saying, a new commandment I give you, a new command I give you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. So let's read the story, story 110. It's on page 220. Jesus washes the disciples' feet. Now that they were in Jerusalem, Jesus and his disciples made plans to celebrate the Passover. Jesus told two of his disciples, "Go into the city, and a man with a water jar will meet you. Follow him into the house that he enters, and say to the owner, 'The teacher says to you, where is the guest room I may use to eat the Passover with my disciples?'" The disciples left, and sure enough, everything happened just the way Jesus had said. The disciples gathered in an upstairs room large enough for all of them to eat together. In those days, when people gathered for a meal, a servant would wash the dirty feet of all the guests. People wore sandals, not shoes, back then, and the dirt roads they walked on were muddy and dusty. Pretty soon their feet were muddy and dusty too. People felt welcomed when they came to someone's house and a servant washed their feet. That night, there was no servant in the room to do the job. And none of the disciples wanted to do it. They were busy arguing about which one of them was the greatest. Even though Jesus had taught that someone who wanted to be great should be the servant of all, his friends still did not understand his message. Jesus decided to show them instead. Jesus was thinking about many things as he got up from the table. He knew that in just a few hours he would be arrested and killed. He knew he would be soon returning to his Father in heaven. And there was still so much he wanted his friends to understand. So to help teach them, Jesus picked up a towel and tied it around his waist like an apron. He found a basin and filled it with water. And one by one, he went to each disciple to wash his feet. There were the disciples, watching their master do the job they did not want to do, the job they should have done for him. The room must have gotten very quiet as Jesus went from one man to the next. Finally, it was Peter's turn. But Peter couldn't stand it. He burst out, "Lord, you shouldn't be washing my feet." Jesus knew Peter's heart was just as dirty with sin as his feet were with mud. But Peter was proud and didn't want Jesus to wash his feet. Jesus said to Peter, "If I do not wash you, you won't share in what I'm doing." Peter knew he wanted to be with Jesus. "Then, Lord, wash my hands and face too," he said. That was a much better answer. When Jesus was finished, he took off the towel and went back to the table. "Do you understand why I washed your feet?" he asked. "If I am your Lord and teacher and I can wash your feet, you should follow my example and wash each other's feet." Peter was surprised that Jesus would do a servant's work and wash their feet. He didn't know Jesus had already given up much, much more. Before Jesus was born, he lived in heaven as God the Son in magnificent splendor and glory. Jesus set aside his glory to be born as a baby in a manger. The Apostle Paul tells us that when Jesus humbled himself to become a man, he made himself nothing, taking the form of a servant. That's from Philippians 2:7. Soon after this Passover meal, Jesus would be arrested, mocked, lied about, beaten, and killed. It was by his death that Jesus did far more than wash feet. It was there he washed our sins away.